Hotep. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. What bees happening?
What bees? See no bees.
Just a slight correction. I come from South Carolina. My ancestors were sold out of Charleston, South Carolina, to Virginia. So my mother and father and grandmother and all of that side of my family is from Virginia. But we were originally in South Carolina when we landed here on this northern part of the European white suppression. We're going to talk about some things here, mostly centered around a health focus and how we use other modalities in the health field to achieve a state of wellness. We are dealing with a science. A science is a language of a people, social language of a people. All sciences are a political and social language of a people. Mathematics, medicine, all of those are political and social languages of a people. Without a culture, you have no way to define what a science is because it's based on your culture. It serves the needs of the culture, just as sex is a political and social language of a people. It serves the needs of the people. Japanese, Chinese have sex different from the Europeans, but we're all taught to behave like them, so we think that there's only one form of sexuality, and that's the Europeans. But that is a political and social language that enhances their culture. So we have to be clear on that. We have to be clear that we're talking about a military science. I'm not talking about a social science. Maybe that's one of our problems. We keep using a social science with a military group of people known as the Europeans. They use military science. Their whole approach to nutrition, food, and African people is military. And the most military person in the African culture is the black woman. That's the one that the white man got to first with his military intelligence. So we have a military approach to things that we are not associating with military, so a lot of things are going to kind of get crossed up here. Well, you brothers, what I'm talking about is why ladies select their shoes and dresses the way they do, and it takes them so long. It's a tactical way in which they approach it. There's an objective to it. That's why it takes a while. What you think is just them selecting a dress or a pair of shoes, is a purpose for it. It's a plan behind it, whether they're going to dress to enhance their dress to enhance their legs, dress to make another sister jealous. It's a tactic. It's a way you approach things.
That's right.
That's military. That's what I'm trying to get you to see, that we're already in the military mode. It has to serve a purpose. What we do is a political and social activity, and it has to serve a purpose, and that purpose is ma'at. Everything we do is directed toward ma'at. So we have to redefine a lot of things, and it takes time to get rid of this European education which we all have. We've all been bitten by white supremacy, and in some way we're dysfunctional. When you're not free to practice in all situations, you're dysfunctional. And we're all dysfunctional to a degree here, so there's no need of pointing at another person saying they're dysfunctional when you're dysfunctional yourself. I'm not going to get into some dialogue about what is a hybrid and what is a clone. You are hybrids, and you're a clone. That's what they call breeding slaves. So let's not even go on that trip about what is a hybrid and what is clone and what is all that. We're all hybrid. We've been hybridized by the Europeans to make a better slave. So we have to throw away some things here. We're going into an area of science that's dealing with energy. Energy is movement. And what I had to do is I had to go back and get this energy from where it was stolen from the Buddhists, from the Hindus, who don't like black people, by the way. That's Deepak, or whatever this book y'all buy by that guy who hates black people, Deepak. He's a Brahmin. He does not like black people. So I had to go back and get it from the Japanese, the Buddhists, the Hindus, the so-called tribe called the Jews, which is nothing but Europeans by another name, and the Greeks and the Romans. They They got the information because we taught everyone. We taught everyone on this planet how to be civilized. Even the things that we think are Native Americans are not actually Native American, it's African coming back at you. The feather of Ma'at, truth, justice, and reciprocity. That's why the chief wears the feathers on his head. That's African. All documentation says that. So I had to go to a lot of different thieves to get the information back again. Primarily what we're dealing with is energy. We're dealing with energy as we call it shifat. Energy is generally classified based on what we call in African science the male and female principle. The male principle being science and the female principle being art. You cannot have art without science. If you play the piano, you're into mathematics. You cannot have art without science. You cannot have science without art. The male and female principle. It takes two to tango, as the old folks would say. So under the male principle, we have Osiris, we have the colors orange, we have hot, we have energy that spins to the right, we have serotonin, we have adrenaline, we have carbon, we have day, we have electricity. Male is electrical, female is magnetic. It's just the way we classify energy. We have colors that are male and colors that are female. I'll show you that. And under the female energy principle, we have Isis. Some of you may be familiar with that. We have melatonin. We have the growth hormone. We have sleep. We have oxygen. We have alkaline. We have night. This comes under the female principle. And Brother Keaty, it's a blessing. And all this information I give to Keaty, because he gives to me. As Khalid gives to me, I give back. That's all I'm doing is just giving it back. And I don't know why you're rushing to write it down, Keaty, because you can have this transparency. You know, I give it to you, no problem. Now I'm going back and show you the Ankh. We are wearing what is known as a cosmetic Ankh. I have a medical Ankh that we use in our science. I don't use it around certified Negroes because they get a little upset and all. But this is a medical Ankh. This is what we use. We use this, what people call a chicken leg, chicken wing. Your grandparents couldn't get a hold of this instrument, so they used the breastbone of a chicken. Oh yeah, they were quite African. And this is a medical Ankh. You know where I bought it from? Some white boys who stole it from us. And you use this and it jumps to the vibration that's out of order. So you can go along the torso of a person. If something wrong with their liver, it's going to jump there. You see? Now, we have a symbolism here. This is a flash point. This is where energy comes in at. This is an Ankh detector, which we call a modern divining rod. This energy comes in where the male and female principle unite, which you would call sexual intercourse, where it unites at, right here. This is where we have a flash point where the energy merges. I don't want anyone to get confused. I'm talking about sexual intercourse. The only thing that could enter the course is a penis. Only a man and a woman can have sexual intercourse. I know I'm in Atlanta. A male and a male can masturbate each other, but they cannot have intercourse. A female and a female can masturbate each other, but they cannot have intercourse. That's in African science. Now, Europeans, they can have sex with monkeys and all that stuff, but that's a different story altogether. And I am going to go there. Again, I'm showing you how this instrument was put together, this orientation of polarity. We use these terms because I was educated in a European school, and I don't want y'all to get confused because I'm very confused at times myself, because sometimes this white man in my head says something and I have to put him in check. You know what I mean? But polarity just means north and south, male and female. If something is polarized, it has a male and female. It's just another way of saying it. Now, I'm going to show you how the energy breaks down. Here's a holistic chart here. This is where we get this word or term called holistic science from. Now, all science comes from the human body. Mathematics comes from the study of the human body. Geometry is the study of how the shapes and angles in your body get together and merge and form another type of energy. Calculus is how you calculate the energy frequency of your body. All sciences come from the human body. All machines come from the human body. The car motor duplicates your digestion. A nuclear reactor duplicates your liver. It changes the energy around. How does a car work? You put the gas in the tank, but the car cannot use the gas in the tank. It cannot run on that. It has to change it into something. It changes it into a vapor form, and some spark plugs fire it off. You eat your food, you change the food into liquid. The liquid gets heated up to 98.6 and gets changed into a vapor, and it gets sucked in some tubes called a villi that's in your intestines, which are little straws, and then an enzyme fires it off. The car motor is the direct duplication of you. All you have to do is know thyself. The camera comes from your eye, the speaker comes from your ear, the antenna duplicates your hair. Every instrument that you can name comes from the human body. This is God's top performance here. So don't think you can get lost. When you study an African science, it's going to make you more connected to nature, more connected to yourself, and more connected to God. If it doesn't do that, then you are not studying African science. You're studying the political and social language of the Europeans. Science should make you more spiritual. It's the whole purpose of science. All the organs and muscles in your body are named after gods. Cepho. You say bicep, tricep. That's Cepho. That's the head god. That's the god that's trying to make rhomboid unite with deltoid. All the muscles in your body are named after spirits and God. If you study the muscles, you're studying a spiritual system. Even if you study the bones, you're studying a spiritual system. It's just that the Europeans don't want you to make that connection. Hippocrates kind of broke that up and said, no, let's call this science and keep God out of it, because it's bad news. Now, we have colors. When it's struck and vibrates, it creates a musical note, and it creates a color, and it creates a sound, which you may call a letter. Now, I'm talking about the bones. Even your backbones vibrate to a different note. That's the same thing that happened in the pyramids of Giza. Each one of those stones, they are not bricks, vibrates to a musical note. Even the obelisk, which you call the Washington Monument, if you strike it, it vibrates to a musical note. It is a functional thing. All African science and art is functional. So we have these 32 backbone centers on our brain stem. You have 12 zodiac signs. All of those relate to the 12 melanin centers on your brain stem, which the Europeans call melanin reticulum formations, better known as just melanin. You have 12 melanin centers, the Europeans have 2. You have 360 melanin clusters, or chakras as the Indian people like to call it, in your digestive tract. The Europeans have 40. So we have color here, indigo, violet, and blue. We commonly call those female colors. And in nature, you can see that the male has these bright colors to distract a predator from the female and the child. So the male usually has the bright colors. The canaries and all those male birds will have yellow, orange, and red colors. Remember, I said that science is a political and social language of a people. Now, I have red here, but I want to make red into pink, so I add white to red. So once I add the white to the red and make pink, Should I put the pink clothes on the girl or the pink clothes on the boy? I'm not trying to say men should go around wearing pink underwear or going to a Dennis Rodman type thing. I'm trying to say that red is a male color and female color is not red. Pink is not a female color, it's a male color. Our whole orientation toward colors is political and social, based on another culture, which makes us an alien to ourselves. So we got to go back and recapture a lot of this. Now, each organ and each, what you call organs in your body, vibrates to a note. Your intestines, your liver and pancreas vibrates to the musical note C and makes the color violet. And it's related to the 6th house of the zodiac, or the 6th melanin reticulum formation center on your brainstem. That's how scientific we are. So we use instruments that help vibrate and make harmony with these centers in our body so we can attain a state of wellness. The zodiac is kind of like, people just don't understand, it's kind of like something you do to find out whether you should play the lottery today. But it's a little more involved than just that. It's been kind of abused by the public, newspapers, but it's ancient African science, and all of us older guys in the medical and sisters in medicine know how to do medical astrology. It's just part of the kit and caboodle that we use. So I do medical astrology as well. So we have these centers that are related to colors and related to zodiac houses, which all spells energy. That's why we can use these instruments like this tuning fork, to vibrate certain centers on your brain stem and to help facilitate energizing your pineal gland or to detect when there's something wrong inside of your pancreas or liver. Older instruments. I normally don't use these instruments, as I mentioned before, around groups of people that are not open to it, because I don't want to scare people. And we are scared of Africa. So we're talking what the Europeans call psychic healing. As you can see, the ankh there is held, and it vibrates on this divining rod here. There are instruments that duplicate this called a sistrum that you may have seen the country and western people play. Ding, 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 ding. That instrument, that's a sistrum that duplicates this ankh, a healing quality of the ankh. Everybody's using our stuff but us. Now you can go back to the ancient drawings of the pyramids, and you'll see these centers that I referred to right here. And you see where this animal is biting in the center, the meeting point, that's where green is. And you see the male and female colors. And you see the symbolism over and over again. And it has name, Ikmer, Shechem, and all the Kemetic names to it. But this is the functionality of the symbols. It had more than just a sound quality to it. It had a medical quality to it. Now, all energy spins. You know when you flush the toilet, the water spins around. If you're having a healthy bowel movement, otherwise you probably clog it up. But you'll notice that the energy just spins around. So we know that energy spins to the right, and it spins through these houses, as we call it, of Aquarius, Scorpio, Capricorn. It spins through these houses, and each time it transverses one of these houses, the energy force field changes. I'm going to show you this male and female principle. One end of this wave, the spin, is male, and the other end is female. And then we have that meeting point where you saw the dog biting, which would be the color green right there again. This is the old model that they teach you in school of how waves move, but it moves like this in spinning forms. Everything is constantly spinning. You spin. And what keeps you from feeling dizzy is something that hovers over your third eye, over your pineal gland, called your third eye, keeps you centered. And here we have a functional drawing of that spin and the merger once again, right there. And then we see with the wings of Isis again, the same duplication of this ancient principle. It's just that things are we're so much an ancient people that we kind of get lost. Our villages were laid out in what we call fractional geometry. In African science, you just don't, if you study math, it's going to be a little calculus mixed in there, a little geometry and trigonometry is going to be all mixed in there because you study all of them at the same time, where the European's going to go from math to geometry to trigonometry, but it's usually all mixed in at the same time when you're studying African science. It makes it rather confusing for some people. Now, all instruments, as I mentioned before, especially when you come into the hair, you'll notice that leaves and ferns and your hair all are shaped like these antennas here. This is where the antennas come from. You get the FM aerials, the same thing that happened with a twig or beech leaf. They have what we call a logarithmic aerial shape. It's over and over again. All sciences should help you be more connected to nature. You don't have to know biology terms to understand health. You can know color. You can know music, because anything you understand has a healing ability to it. It's not restricted to someone who just knows biology. So don't get duped with the terms. Anything that I understand, you should be able to understand, and don't get lost in the terms. Just say, hey, break it down. I don't understand what you're saying there. Because a lot of things that we learn them just to keep us confused. One point of confusion is this. We learn that we have organs in our body, and everybody says we have organs in our body. Oh, that's true, you have organs in your body. And you have glands in your body. Yeah, that's true, you have glands in your body. Well, what's the difference between an organ and a gland? You have a sweat gland, right? The sweat gland does not make water. It just secretes water. The water is already made and it secretes it out. You call that sweating. So we know a sweat gland, a gland period, secretes something, but it doesn't make the something that it secretes. You follow me? If it makes something, it's an organ. If it secretes something, it's a gland. Is the pineal an organ or a gland? It makes something. It's a pineal organ, not a gland. Does the thyroid make something? Thyroxine? Yeah. If it makes something, it's an organ. It is not a gland. The thyroid is an organ. It's just that the Europeans have such a low amount of melanin that the organs behave like glands. So they tell you all of them are glands. Why not? So you can't obtain a certain level of wellness because you're treating your body like it's a white man's body. Carter G. Woodson said this better than myself. He said we have been miseducated.
Yes.
And it's in science too. We have been miseducated. Do cells divide? Sure. Everybody goes to school. So, yeah, cells divide. You have never seen a cell divide in your life. A cell has a nerve attached to it and a blood supply attached to the nerve. A cell grows like a tree, which we call a stole, which is a melanin template. And then all the branches, the mitochondria, endoplasm, reticulum, grows like leaves around the melanin root. Cells grow like trees. Corpuscles divide. Cells grow. So you have someone who's been studying medicine or biology, and you come in their office and they're trying to treat you. Here you show up with all of these cells, and all they've ever studied was corpuscles. So how are you going to get so well with this person when they treat you like a corpuscle and you made a brain cells, nerve cells? It's just that we have been totally, thoroughly miseducated, because we have never been taught the word melanin. When you're studying melanin, someone should say the word melanin. If you're studying melanin particles called protons, electrons, and neutrons in chemistry, chemi mean black, black mean melanin, you're studying melanin, why don't you ever hear the word melanin? When what you're studying is melanin. What melanin around you? Again, we have this concentration of color. It gets so concentrated that it appears black, and we call it black. Richard King calls it the black dot. We have black. It's concentrated melanin, and all these other colors come from it. This is the structure of what you call a pendulum. At the pinnacle of the pendulum is concentration of melanin, and then it spreads out like an umbrella. And you get these other colors, and that's what causes it to vibrate and spin. Oh, you've seen people use them. Some people use them to find out where to put their bed in their room, what foods they're allergic to. They put a pendulum over it. First they program the pendulum to say up like this meaning yes and like this meaning no, or they may program to say clockwise mean yes and counterclockwise mean no, and they put the pendulum over the food and say, oh, it's saying no, I shouldn't eat this, or I'm allergic to that. That's a good way of testing it, but first your body has to be clean, because your body is an instrument. So you're not going to get good results if your instrument is not good. And it kind of makes sense, you know that. Sick man, sick sperm. What's the problem? It's not hard to figure out. Maybe I shouldn't have used that word, it's not hard to figure out. So we're looking at the complex thing here, known as nucleus and molecules and all that sort of thing. And now we're looking at down the bottom, here's the neutrons and protons, which I was referring to. And then we have atom, the spinning, how the cells spin and rotate constantly. And what we're trying to do is plug into that kind of energy so we can get a better understanding of things. Now, what the Europeans are calling psychic healing is just when they're able to use their melanin to a little degree. I want to show you one picture here before I move on of all of the symbolism here. How we have the radiation of sunlight at the top, radiation and sunlight at the top. Then we have a divining rod right here. Then we have the Ankh right here, which is another divining instrument. And all of these were used to help put a person better in touch with their consciousness and with their spirituality. Because you can't treat one without the other. You can't be physically ill unless you're mentally ill. You can't be mentally ill unless you're spiritually ill. You can't have one without the other. Let me show you emotional illness. A person who's addicted to sugar has an emotional problem here. Sugar is associated with love and affection. So whenever they're not able to give love and affection properly or receive love and affection properly, they'll eat sugar. Because that's the emotional cause of being addicted to sugar. Sugar is associated with love and affection, your birthday, you know, Christmas, your Halloweenies and all that.
That's right.
So we associate sugar with love and affection. So when we're having problems with that, we eat a lot of sugar. Lord knows if you're on a job and you want white people to like you, you probably eat a lot of sugar. And you know people that are addicted to sugar because they always use the term. How you doing, honey? What'd you say, sweetie? You know they're addicted. That's all they